All right, here we go. This is another episode of the Daring Deeply podcast. I'm David Lee, your host, and Paige Stewart is not with us today, but we do have a very special guest with us. We know her as Nicole Rademacher, although she's known in many different spaces as other names, Nikki and whatnot, but she's Nicole to us, and I'm super excited to have Nicole on our podcast today. To one, share a little bit, and I'll be very, very upfront here. Nicole is one of our Daring Deeply clients, and she is deeply engaged in her own really important, really impactful coaching practice, and I'm going to let her speak to all that. She's an incredible coach in her own right, and we're going to get into that conversation, and she's going to share a little bit about quite a bit about what she does in the world. And speaking of the world, as soon as she begins to speak, I think you're going to recognize something maybe a little different for all of you English speaking, all of the folks that are listening and watching the podcast here in the States. So I'm going to introduce, here we go. This is Nicole Rademacher. Nicole, thank you for being there. I'd love to hear a little bit about you, a little bit of background, and we'll just start the conversation from there.
Yeah, hi, David. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me. And yeah, by now you can probably tell that I'm not from the US, but where is she from? I'm from Europe. So I'm originally from the north of Germany, the beautiful town of Hanover, if anyone has been there. And now I'm living in Spain, in Mallorca, which is a beautiful island in the Mediterranean. And I've been here since 2004, many, many years. Yeah, and how did I get here? I worked for big European corporate in travel and tourism for many, many years, first in Germany, then I came here. Yeah, and then, well, I was just deciding it's so good to live in the Mediterranean. I just stay here. And yeah, and 1 year ago, I had quite a big transformation in my life. I decided to give up my corporate career, set up my own business. So things really started moving for me after the 50-day lockdown here in Spain. So I was locked in my house with my 2 teenagers for quite a while. And I wasn't really in a good place. And then actually this is when I started my own transformation. Looking more after myself, my health, started to get into coaching myself. And yeah, it's been quite a big change. And David, you have been a big part of this since last year.
Yeah. So, and thank you, Nicole, for sharing all that, a little bit of background. So kind of walk us through, I'm curious, as we kind of lean into and lead ourselves toward talking more about what you do and how you've been transformed and your growth process and healing and all of that, and how it translates into your own coaching practice and how you're affecting others in your particular space. Kind of share a little bit, again, what you're open to share of how you got to that space. What was it like? You said, oh my goodness, it was hard. It was difficult. 50 days locked in a house with two teenagers, which I know that anybody that's listening or watching this right now thinking, okay, yeah, the initial pandemic thing was tough, but then locked in with teenagers, God bless them. So talk a little bit about what kind of led to that epiphany of growth and transformation and healing, and kind of what kind of led up to you and I coming into contact and meeting. Kind of, so share with us a little bit about where you were and what drove you to say, okay, I've got to do something. I've got to be something different.
Yeah. So actually my life up to that point was very, very different. No, so I was a senior sales and marketing executive in a big corporate. I was traveling quite a lot. So I was based here in Spain, but my last job was actually in Milan in Italy. So I had to travel every second week to Italy, organize everything with the boys. There were quite a lot of changes going on in my job. So it was quite stressful. And I was always, giving my best and more, I would say. And I didn't really know how to take care of myself, if I look at that now. And then once everything came to a halt and I was locked here in my house, sometimes I say it's like someone had pulled a plug. So I was in this wheel, like this hamster wheel that we sometimes talk about, and someone pulled the plug, and then all of a sudden the hamster wheel came to a halt, and I was like, oh, what's going on here? I'm not feeling great, and I wasn't really in a good place, no? And then slowly by slowly, the first thing I realized that I wasn't sleeping well. And then I realized I didn't have a lot of energy. And I love exercise, I love yoga, but I actually did it every second week. And then I thought, well, something has to change here. And as I had more time and I was at home, I started to do stuff. Now I really went in to understand, how can I sleep better? I did a program to improve my nutrition. And then I noticed all of a sudden, wow, I have so much energy. I started to do more yoga. And then step by step, I was really discovering, when you start taking care of yourself, so many doors are opening.
And they did. They started opening. So how did, so talk to me a little bit about how you came to find David Lee and Daring Deeply. How did you're in this trapped container, you're realizing, oh my goodness, things have got to change. I'm going to start investing in me, taking care of me, which is an incredible, powerful, feminine energetic, right? Is to care for herself. So you're on this journey, and you're probably, my guess is, and I'd love to hear, is you're probably seeking out, you were part of a program, which you're going to talk about in just a little bit, as far as your nutrition is concerned, but you were starting to want and desire and thirst for more. And so talk to me kind of about how you came to the Clint podcast, and I'll just leave it there, and how we met, and then kind of take us from there.
Yeah, and like you say, David, it was a podcast. So after I've been in this WildFit nutrition program as a client, I immediately after a few weeks, I actually saw, wow, this is so amazing. I want to go deeper. No? So I signed up for the coaching certification, and in that certification class, I met someone from Australia, Clint, who's a wonderful colleague and friend of mine by now, and he has a wonderful podcast. So, and in that podcast, I was listening to the podcast, and one evening I saw this and I've looked it up. It was called What Women Are Saying About Dating. And I was like, that sounds interesting, because actually since my divorce in 2018, I've been more in a place like, I don't need anyone. I'm better off by myself. And, and that was actually a moment with all that transformation going on, where that was something I thought, maybe I should look at that. But I was terrified. And then when I heard that podcast and you were talking about successful professional women in their 40s or 50s starting to date again after separation or divorce, I was like, this guy's talking about me. I was getting goosebumps. It was funny and it was scary at the same time, no? And then I thought, you know what? And then he's a friend of Clint. Well, I'm just going to contact this guy. And then I reached out to you, and we had our first conversation.
Yeah, that was it's such a cool story. Those stories are, you can never get enough of those kind of stories. So I'm on a podcast with a new friend who lives in Australia, a woman originally from Germany, living on the island of Majorca. Here's a podcast from Clint of this dude in America, and then we come together and we have a conversation, and you make a really bold, courageous decision to start working with me in a one-on-one coaching container. And wow, that's been, goodness gracious, it's been over a year now.
It's been over a year.
Yeah. And so, and it's an absolute thrill to be working with you, Nicole. And I'll say this, and I'd even say this if you weren't here. It's a thrill working with amazing folks like yourself, Nicole, because you really want it. You really, really want to put in the work, even when it's hard, right? And we've been through some hard stuff, and we're continuing to navigate that. So talk a little bit about, if you will, again, whatever you're open to share a little bit of maybe a 20,000 foot view of the work that we've done, what you've gained from that, the information, insight, knowledge, the real results of our work together. And then I'd love to hear how that then has inspired and empowered you in your coaching practice. And then we'll kind of expand into that.
Yeah. So, well, actually, the first thing was, I mean, I heard you in that podcast about dating. So after we had, I think, 1 or 2 conversations, it was really strange, but I met the most wonderful man I met in my whole life, and we've been together ever since. So that was the first remarkable thing that happened. And yeah, then let's say, I think, David, you have impacted me in any relationship I have now. So not only in my partner relationship with my kids, no, we've spent some time also speaking about my role as a mother, how to set boundaries with my teenage boys. Then, yeah, other relationships with friends within business, no, and also it's such a pleasure working with you, and you're such an amazing coach. So you always, every time we talk, you inspire me for my own coaching practice. So it's been something that has been really transformational for me. And I think one of the things I really would like to share here is also what impacted me a lot is the work we have been doing on the masculine feminine polarity, because this is something that I found always interesting, but I hadn't really spent time on. And I think the way that you and also Paige are teaching this and are sharing this and also living this is really has really inspired me and has made a really big impact on me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's I think what's super important, and I want to highlight this, and celebrate you, and also really to expand and to share with our audience, is oftentimes folks will come to us, will come to me, will come to Paige and myself, and have a specific outcome that says, I need a man. I want a relationship. I want to meet the woman of my dreams, or I want my marriage to be fixed, or I want to become a better mom. I want to become a better parent, or if the men that we serve, I want greater and grander purpose. I want to find a career that really meets who I really am, as opposed to climbing the corporate ladder. And in reality, when folks come into our ecosystem, right, that's their outcome. And what always seems to happen is we always return to the self. And in this case, we always return to Nicole. And I just, again, want to celebrate you, Nicole, is that you have been all in on you. And really, because we do talk about the former spouse, we do talk about the partner, we do talk about kids, we do talk about career, we do talk about all those things, those tertiary things, but it always returns back to Nicole, because the reality is all of her relationships are solely based and be connected to the relationship that Nicole has with herself. Right. And so that it's always imperative to come back to that. I'm curious to know, because I'd love to hear a little bit of taste and again, whatever you are open to share. What is something that has resonated, speaking of masculine and feminine polarity? What has kind of grown inside of you and gone, because you said, I've always been interested, but now I am watching and witnessing what David and Paige are living and teaching and coaching. How has that affected you in your relationship with your partner? And within you, what are some of the things that you've taken in and perhaps even have implemented?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think one of the things that I hadn't really thought about previously is also that this understanding is also really helping me in my role as a mom to 2 boys. No, to really, let's say, what is that evolution of the masculine and I spend most of the time on my own with the boys. As a mother, as the feminine energy, how does this come together? No, so that is also something really interesting that has really inspired me. And I think one of the things is really to understand the differences in the energy of the masculine and the feminine and how it comes together. No, and in my former corporate career, I think as women, many times we're, let's say, expected to have this masculine energy, or maybe we think we are expected to have it. No, let's put it that way. No, and especially I was in leadership positions, but in international context, but also mainly in a Mediterranean, very masculine context. No, where probably that was even more the case than in other surroundings. And what I really relearned is to actually, first of all, acknowledge my feminine and live it. And I think what I've also really learned through the work with you, David, is to really ask myself more often, what do I want? And not what do other people expect of me, which is then again related to the work on boundaries, But I think it has been a very long time that I hadn't asked myself, what do I want? And then in this context of the feminine, I now know that I need times of rest and of unscheduled time, which had never occurred to me previously, honestly, but now I know. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, powerful. Yeah, I know that you are speaking to potentially so many women that are watching or listening to this podcast, and they're like, oh, that's me, which is interesting because once upon a time on the podcast with Clint and David, you said he's talking about me. So perhaps the lineage, the continuation of the stream of support and help and inspiration. Talk to me a little bit about how and how it's going to lean into your specific work, but how you've leveraged our trauma-informed work together, and specifically the modalities where you've leveraged internal family systems and those types of things. So again, whatever you're open to share on your level of, oh my goodness, I have trauma. there probably needs to be some healing going on, and then how that has leveraged into your coaching practice, and then how it's generated into this, and we'll kind of come to that intersection. And because I want our audience certainly to know what WildFit is and how you are helping clients from all over the world getting in touch with a new relationship with eating. And but I want to hear kind of our work with trauma and how that's led into your work with WildFit.
Yeah. So I think if you had asked me 2 years ago, I would have said, no, I don't have trauma. No trauma. I'm good, because I was always good. No problem. So, and then when we got deeper into this work, I started to see some transgenerational things that kept on coming up for me, in particular related to my mom. And my mom passed away of cancer, like in 2010. So there was also some things that were coming up for me, and that was really good to spend some time on that in a safe space, which I'd actually never done. So that was then the first step. And then when we were going more into the internal family systems, and we were actually going into how subconscious parts are actually, how you like to say, are running the show, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. In the relationship to my boys, to my ex-husband, all of a sudden I could see patterns where I could see that it wasn't actually myself running the show, but something. And we're still in the middle of this. So I think this is also not a process that can finish, that will always go on once you know what to look out for. So that was something that gave a huge boost, I would say, to my growth and my transformation. And on the other hand, it's really becoming a part of my own coaching practice now, because when we talk about health and nutrition coaching, a lot of clients that are coming into me have trauma triggered, let's say, emotional eating patterns. And now I can use all these tools, and also based on my own experience, to actually help people to understand their patterns, to understand what inner dialogue is going on. When I get home after a hard day, I collapse on the couch and take the tub of Ben and Jerry's. What's going on there?
Yeah, really powerful stuff. So that leads us right into where I want to go. So talk about WildFit. Talk about obviously the impact was grand as you were a client, right? Which is the best sales that can ever happen. Be a client and then become a coach, right? I mean, that's, you're living, breathing, you are the testimony. So I want our audience to know about this really, really powerful coaching opportunity and lifestyle shift and change. And so provide us some information, kind of how did you get there? What was your experience within it? And give our audience a little bit of taste of what it is. What would a typical experience with Nicole be? What would they expect to see or find? Obviously, all results are different, but and what I want to, because this is really kind of how we roll with Daring Deeply, is why is it different? Why is WildFit different than any other diet program or any type of support system that's really trying to help you with your nutrition and relationship with food?
Yeah. So yeah, first of all, my own experience. No, so as I said, it was in the summer after this COVID lockdown. I wasn't really in a good place. No, I wasn't sick and I wasn't massively overweight, but I didn't feel good in my body. No, I didn't sleep well. I had no energy. I could hardly get out of bed in the morning. And when I had started the program, a few weeks into the program, and it's a 90-day program that is run online, I started noticing, I still remember one morning, the alarm clock rang or my phone rang and with the alarm, and I was literally jumping out of bed. I had such a burst of energy. And I was like, what's going on here? It's like amazing. And then over time, I had always like really bad skin, still in my 40s. My skin cleared up. My hay fever disappeared. I lost something like 10 kilos, 5-6 kilos, which is probably something like in pounds, 12 pounds, something like this. And as I said, I wasn't massively overweight, but I felt completely different in my body. No, and then the other thing I really noticed that I had a lot more mental clarity when I changed my way of eating. No, so it was, and then I think the biggest thing for me was, by doing these changes, becoming more mindful and aware of what I was putting into my body, it was really like opening the doors to taking care of myself. Yeah, and then I had more energy and more motivation for movement. Now, since I'm doing online yoga 3 times a week, and I'm spending more time outside in the morning. No, even if I think, oh, I don't have time. No, I take the time, half an hour in the morning. I go for a walk. No, I sleep better. No, so all these things brought me to the conclusion, I want to share this with other people. This is amazing. And yeah, WildFit is a health and nutrition program that was created by Eric Edmeades. He's the founder of WildFit. It's the Canadian program now, but we have clients from all over the world. Approximately 50,000 people have already been through the program from all around the world with amazing results. And it's a complete online program. It's 90 days, and there's 3 parts to the program. So there's online training videos with Eric, who is actually teaching the principles of WildFit. Then there's live coaching with me as a coach in a Zoom call. So once a week, it's all online in a small group of people. No, so you also have a community of people who do this program with you, or you can also opt for one-on-one coaching, no, which is another option. And then the third pillar is there's always a Facebook or WhatsApp group if you are in a group to interact within the community, no? And as I said, it's all online. And yeah, what are we doing in WildFit? It's actually really based on bringing us back to a natural, healthy way of eating and understanding our food psychology. Because I've just read a study this morning from the UK, from like a year ago or so, that in the UK, an average person is doing 162 diets during their lifetime, which is approximately at least 2 a year. And how long do they stick with the diet? An average of 6 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Powerful statistic. Wow.
Yeah. And this is what makes WildFit so different, because it's a change of lifestyle. And we really go deep into the food psychology. No, we were talking previously about the parts work. No, so how unconscious or subconscious programming, our parts sometimes run the show and make us eat stuff that we actually shouldn't eat. or rather not eat, or at least not eat all the time. No, so we are creating this powerful awareness and give our clients really powerful tools to get to this awareness, to really understand, okay, what is going on here. Then we're adding more nutrients to your nutrition. And then over the course of the program, we're also taking a vacation, how we call it, from certain not so healthy foods. So, and at the end of the program, you will feel amazing. And many of our clients release quite a lot of weight. I mean, it's not a diet, it's not a weight loss program, but I think if you want to get to your ideal weight and keep it, it's the most effective thing I've ever seen. And that change is also happening for the clients. No, so it's really different because it's not a short-term alteration to your eating habits. We really go deep. No, we learn about, for example, the 6 human hungers. You really understand why you eat, how you can eliminate some of these hungers. You understand what happens when you sabotage your plans to eat healthier. No, we're back to your parts, right? And you get these powerful tools to take back control of your food choices so that it's effortless and easy and you no longer depend on willpower. Because like we've heard, the willpower is over after 6 days. In
right,
average,
the 6-day diet, right?
Exactly. You know?
Yeah.
So we're really getting into new habits. As a coach, I give my clients easy recipes, so that many of my clients come into the process like, oh, I haven't cooked for years. And then they say, oh, this is really fun. I love cooking now, And so really things that are easy to implement. There are no expensive supplements. So it's all based on eating differently. And one of the really big things, like I said before, you're not alone. You're in a community. I have up to 15 people in my group. So it's a small community. People are really connecting with each other. I've currently a group with 8 people. It's like after 3 weeks, it's like wonderful. You see the conversations going on in the group and people supporting each other. Or let's say if you want, you can opt for a one-on-one coaching if you're really busy and you need to be very flexible, or there's stuff you want to work on a one-to-one because you don't want to share it in front of a group. It's also a really good option. No? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And I know folks are listening or watching this are thinking, okay, all right, that sounds really attractive because that is me. There's that's me again, right? The 6-day willpower. I love what you said there, Nicole, when you said willpower, we're beginning to release our addiction or attachment to willpower. And relating back to our trauma work is willpower is overriding. Willpower is bypassing the root cause of why in the world you're stuffing your face with a Twinkie, right? It's not because it tastes good, although, come on. But it's there, the underpinning, right? As I say, the root issue, right? There's a reason why there is a part that is saying, ooh, I want that. I deserve that. I need that. That's going to do something for me. It's going to keep me safe, right? And so we can see how our work really comes together and blends, and that you've leveraged your time, your personal time, in our coaching, and how it's now, wow, it has really affected how you're coaching, because you can bring them into a deeper understanding and a psychology of why in the world they're putting things in their mouth that aren't, quote, good for them. So I love, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, just this morning, I had a really wonderful experience with a one-on-one client. And she said she was always eating these German sausages, which normally are also full of sugar and chemicals, and when we were digging deeper, she was all of a sudden realizing that this reminded her of her mom. And then she started crying. And then we were going through the conversation, and then at the end we found something else that she can do to connect her with her mom that probably even creates a more powerful connection. And so in this moment you actually create the awareness. It's like, sometimes I say, it's like you lift something, you see something under the surface of the water and you lift it up, so you hold it in your hand, you can see it, and then we can work with it. And in that moment you say, this is why I'm doing this, and then you no longer need it. And you can do something else,
Yeah.
And so this is really, really powerful work, no? And I think the magic happens when you start to see these things and you start to find alternatives. No, so many times I also talk to women who say, oh, I have this really stressful job. I come home, I put on Netflix, I get the ice cream or the whatever. And what are you looking for? So what is the emotion or the state you're looking for? Normally it's like sometimes you just feel alone or overwhelmed. I had this experience myself, no, many times, no, and I had a glass of wine or I had an ice cream, and I know it wasn't particularly good for me, but I needed this because I felt I deserved it. It comforted me. And when we go through this process with my clients, we can then really find alternatives. So what can you do? Maybe you can call a friend if you feel alone. Maybe you can, talk to someone, listen to a song, go for a walk, prepare yourself a healthy meal that nourishes you. No? Yeah. And yeah, it's just amazing to see the transformations that can happen in 90 days. No, and it's really the best thing you can do to ensure that you have a long, happy, healthy life.
There you go. I mean, what more do you want, right?
Exactly. And from my own experience, I mean, I turned 50 last year in December, and I have more energy in my 30s than in my 30s. And sometimes I can't believe it myself. And I mean, I plan to travel the world when I'm in my 90s.
Absolutely. Love that. Love that as a goal. Yes. We may be joining you on that trip, Nicole.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your WildFit experience and results and what it does. And I know obviously it's helping a great deal of people around the globe. And I want to emphasize, if you're interested, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're watching the podcast and you want to know more about WildFit, how in the world do they get a hold of Nicole? Let's go there. Let's talk about how they get a hold of you, other than, oh, there's Nicole, and like you did me once upon a time. Like, I got to find that dude. So what's the best way of getting connected to you? Is it WildFit website? Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? Kind of give us your pitch, so to speak.
Yeah, thank you, David.
You're welcome.
So my coaching business is called Más Vida Coaching, and this is Spanish. Remember, I live in Spain, and Más Vida means more life, because this is actually what it's all about, no? So you find my website, which is www.masvida, MASVIDA /coaching.com. Or my Instagram, which is also called Más Vida and then _coaching.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you can just hit pause and write that down, friends, and we'll put it certainly in the notes and whatnot. So, wow, what a powerful story of how we came to each other in certainly in our professional relationship, and how our work together has fueled so much and elevated your work with your WildFit clients. It's such a cool story, and thank you so much for making the time to be here today. If there is, let me ask you this, Nicole, if there is one practical thing that you can share with our audience, that you share with your clients, that seems to bring those aha moments, is there a tidbit of information, insight, wisdom, a phrase, a quote, a to-do? What is, if they were going to walk away with this, with one thing to help them realign their relationship with food, what would it be?
Yeah, one of the easiest things and most effective things that you can do to elevate your health is drink more water. So if you drink 6 to 8 glasses of water a day, I know, David, you're doing it. Wonderful. If you drink 6 to 8 glasses of water as a minimum over the day, if you don't do it now, you will have a massive impact on your health already without doing anything else. And something that is also really important to know is it's a lot more important that we get enough of the good stuff. Then it doesn't matter if you have the ice cream or the pizza, or not all the time, but drink water and ensure that you get enough of the good stuff. One amazing thing is having green smoothies. I think for some people, they might say, oh, don't really like them, but there are ways of getting into it, of having recipes, add some fruit. So it's an amazing hack to get more nutrients. And in particular, if you're really busy, have a busy lifestyle, it's something, if that becomes one of your habits, it's just going to transform your
Awesome.
health.
Love it. Love it. So lots of water and begin to get into green smoothies.
Yeah.
And you're going to knock out a lot of this, right there. So, Nicole, thank you. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us. And it's been a pleasure working with you one-on-one in our coaching space. And we certainly look forward to partnering together and providing support, with your clients and vice versa. So again, if you're interested in knowing more about WildFit and Nicole, let's look her up. We'll put all the information in the notes and we'll go from there. So, all right. I think that's it. We'll sign off for now. So thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, David, for having me. It's been a real pleasure. And I look forward also to seeing you in October in Nashville.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yes. Nicole is coming to one of our ladies retreats. And so she is flying across the pond, as they say. So she'll be arriving here in Nashville, Tennessee, from Majorca to Nashville, Tennessee in just a couple of months. Holy cow. Like 2 months from today, I think. So yeah, and thank you, Nicole. I appreciate that. So if you're interested, by the way, in knowing a little bit more about our ladies retreats, our men's retreats, our couples retreats, let us know, and we can provide some information surrounding that. So we will sign off, and thank you, Nicole. Take care.
Thank you, David.
Bye-bye.